Well, hello, my fabulous friends. I hope you're doing well. Well, continuing on with, I'm going to call it a series of different esoteric teachings. I started with soul families. I just had a brain fart there with soul families, and that it started a few other questions people had. Number one was about the suicide and about earthbound spirits. And so, just to reiterate, what we've learned so far is that there's the oversoul or God or heaven or the universe. And that's where all the souls kind of live in this area. And then they come to earth through the sun. And they come down to earth. Here's some land masses and some oceans and whatnot. And they have from their first breath, the silver cord then attaches into earth. You don't return through the sun, and there's the old go to the light at the end of the tunnel, until your silver cord is broken and you're detached from earth. And then you rebound back into what some people call heaven, um, the universe, whatever. And then you return to that energetic state of vibration. All right. So from your first breath, you are tagged onto earth. Now, this doesn't mean that there's a plasma dome here at all. So it means that, aliens or Archons or anybody else can get in. Not at all. It's just how our souls come through soul down into earth and how we return back to heaven. So this begs a question too, is earth hell? Probably. Probably. I've been looking into that a little bit. And so because we come down, right? And we have this myth about hell is down and it's below the earth. And that's where our silver cord is tied to, below the earth, to keep us here on earth, or to keep our physical body here on earth as well. So is earth hell? I don't know. Is love hell? Some people would say, yeah, love, and you lose love and you grieve for love that is gone. We have to work. It's definitely a predator prey lifestyle, right? Everybody has to eat something. Every animal has to consume something. There's some kind of prey. There's even on plants, there's bugs and viruses that eat plants. Plants that will break through cement and rocks and destroy the earth. There's animals that eat vegetables. There's animals that eat animals. It's a very violent planet. As much as I said it's like going to a theme park, it's just a theme park and things that you can't experience when you're up here at all. So is it hell? Could be. Could be. I've seen a lot of evidence of that, and perhaps that's why, as long as you behave yourself, because that's also a mythological part of hell, is that you're only down there because you've been a bad boy or bad girl, or you've broken some of the oversoul's rules, and the oversoul does not have rules. That's a human thing, that you're down in hell. And I just want to tell you, you have always have your choice to come down, but you probably want to because it's for your growth as well. It would be like stopping at grade 4 and saying, yeah, I think I've learned enough. It's like, no, like, even for people who don't enjoy school, you have to go and get a few more grades to advance yourself in the world, kind of thing. And also all your friends and family are there. So you want to kind of join them. So that's a little bit about heaven and hell. So what does this have to do with earthbound spirits? So what happens is sometimes your silver cord is broken and you don't bungee jump right back through. Sometimes you do get kind of stuck here. And that's what's called an earthbound spirit. That's what's called an earthbound spirit. So, and again, I want to let you know this is just my own studies. A few people have asked, where can I read more about this? I've learned a lot about this through the Rosicrucians, and there's different levels of Rosicrucian or different factions. There's some that are very Christian, there's some that are very Kabbalah. There's some that are in between. There's it's almost like Christianity. You've got your Baptists and your Presbyterians and Anglicans and Catholics and whatnot, but you kind of agree with over all of it. So I've studied just about all of them, and I've taken different pieces. So for me to say, what books do you recommend? Study the Rosicrucians in different factions. Ask the universe to send you the information, because there's not one single point that I've learned all this. This is from studying all kinds of different modalities and different frames of thought. And so let's get back to earthbound spirits. So I talked about a little bit about suicide, that if you commit suicide, you have two. It could have been in your contract. Maybe you wanted to experience that for whatever reason, and that is absolutely valid. But if it wasn't in your contract, then you are earthbound until your contract is up. See, the clock agrees with me. So let's say like I said, I'll do our family experience. She was 36 when she committed suicide. But what if her contract wasn't until she was 82 that she was actually supposed to go back? Well, for those years, those in-between years, she is earthbound, but in spirit form. All right. Also, another way you can become an earthbound spirit form is like your Diana, Michael Jackson, probably the Queen, anybody who's been really extremely famous and well loved and well liked. What happens is when you have, this is Earth and billions of people, and they're all crying and they're all upset. And you think of this energy that it's creating, and here's your soul, the silver cord, and you want to head back. This energy actually keeps you here. Strong grief this energy will keep you tied to the earth plane as a spirit. Or if you pass away under extreme circumstances, like a lot of times you see this with children who are murdered, or they have other horrific deaths. They don't realize what has happened, and they just stick around Earth because they want to stay with their parents, stay with their brothers and sisters, stay with what they know, because they're afraid, and they're so afraid. So that's why a lot of your earthbound spirits will be children or young adult. Like they realize that they don't want to leave their mom or their dad or their siblings or their family. They want to hang on, so they hang around Earth to be with those people. But what happens is this silver cord then starts to, it doesn't expire. It just doesn't have the strength to pull you back, almost, if you want to put it into human terms so you understand it. So the longer you stay earthbound, and so there's two ways to stay earthbound. It's by outpouring grief, or by you not wanting to leave. So let's say a young father husband is accidentally killed at work. They may want to stay around Earth to watch their husband or their wife and their children Maybe they think in some way they can protect them somehow. Now, so here's the broken cord, here's Earth, and off to the sun, off to back there. Can you get back? Absolutely. You always can, but it gets to almost a point that you forget, you have forgotten how, or the strength of going towards the sun is not there anymore. This is your new life. This is your new life as an earthbound spirit. So let's go to the actual death process. So when you die, first of all, there's a few specific things that have to happen, and you kind of revert back to the kingdoms. So you are human, which is your brain, and then you are fire, which is your metabolism and your muscles, and then there's your water, and then there's your minerals. So the first part of you that dies is the humanness of you, the language, the brain activity, and they don't declare you dead until your brain activity is gone. And then what happens is you start to get cold, your metabolism leaves, and you start to get rigor mortis. And they can actually almost guesstimate when you died based on the temperature of your body and the rigor mortis. And then what happens is you bloat, and that's the water. And then the last thing to dissolve of your physical body is your earth, which is your bones and teeth and hair. People don't realize your hair is earth. And it's, you look at some of the mummies and they still have their hair on, and they're like thousands of years old, or they'll find a skeleton and they'll find hair around there. So hair is earth as well. So these are the first things that are happening to you, your physical body, and you always leave your physical body here on earth. At least you should, unless you're like a space station, you're in a space station and you lose the cord and off you go into space. So what happens then is you die, and this is interesting, we're talking about this because this is Easter. It takes you about 3 days to realize you're dead. It takes you about 3 days to get reorientated off of the physical, right? So you think about yourself. And again, I want to show you, the best way to show another human what it feels like is when you have no gravity and you're just kind of floating around, which way's up, which way's down. You have lost all your physical parts of you. You go to reach for something and you can't, there's nothing there, right? No, you might be able to see parts of the spirit, the encasement, the envelope that you were in, or the astral body that you had, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. So that takes about 3 days. And this is like, look at Easter. Jesus dies on Friday, and by the third day, he was gone. So there's some kind of parable there about that you do hang around for 3 days. A lot of Christianity, like I know I grew up Catholic, is you couldn't be buried until after the third day. I know a lot of religions you have to be buried within 24 hours, but that's because they don't allow any kind of preservation, let's put it that way. And so if you were in any kind of disease area, they want that body put away as quick as possible so it doesn't create, plus you start stinking, you start bloating. And I think it's a Jewish and Islam, and your body has to somehow be complete and whole and touching the ground. And of course, here in Canada, you can't be just buried in the ground anymore. And so what they've done to accommodate that is you have dissolving, like cardboard boxes almost. And then they eventually dissolve, and then you're somewhat touching the ground, I guess. And I guess that they can do that. But anyways, let's get back to our 3 days. So it takes about 3 days to realize you have died, and that you have no voice. Nobody can hear you. You can't touch people, and you're which way's up, which way's down, and you're getting used to your new body, I guess you could say. It's just your astral body kind of thing. And you're getting used to that. That takes about 3 days. And then it takes about 14 days. Most people hang around for about 14 days before that silver cord snaps them back in through the sun. They say goodbye to people. This is also when people say they've reviewed their life. This is when that would happen. You would review why, why you did certain things, the outcome of that, choices that you made. And this is when people have NDEs or near death experiences and they say, oh, I was dead on the operating table. No, you weren't, because your silver cord was still attached. You just went into this kind of space right here. And this is where you hang around for 14 days. And so the 14 days after someone passes are the best days to talk to them, to, say what you want to say. Because after they go through the sun, you can still reach them in some regards, but it's not as strong as it is within those 14 days. 2 other days, on a side note here, is their Earth birthday and their heaven day. Those are 2 days that they might poke their nose and see what's going on. And when you talk to them, the veil is the thinnest then for them. What's the veil? Kind of the sun area here. All right. So maybe they come to the edge and they're checking things out. But we have to remember they're doing other things on the other side of the sun. So as long as they're not earthbound, they're doing their own thing over there. Being with other souls, being with the soul family that's over there, figuring out their next contract, whatever they do over there, hanging out probably at spas or whatever. I'm kidding. They don't have physical bodies. Anyways, they're busy doing that. So on their birthday and their heaven day is the best day to talk to them after, especially their first heaven, the anniversary of their first heaven day. They certainly do come in and check in on you. So that would be a great day to talk to them. So what happens if after these 14 days, then it becomes 21 days, then it becomes 30 days, then it becomes, well, this silver cord gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Now, it doesn't mean you can't ever go back. Of course you can. You are part of the oversoul. You can always go back. But it's just the weaker and more faded that becomes, you think this is the new normal, being earthbound and hanging around here on earth, rather than going back up and completing your cycle. So that's part of the earthbound, how you end up becoming earthbound. Like I said, or there's such grief, all that energy of people grieving is keeping you here, all that vibration. So you think Diana, I do auto writings with Diana, a lot of psychics contact Diana. She is 100% earthbound. 30 years, almost 30 years on, and we're still on about Diana. And so this is where that rest and peace comes in. You let them go. You let them go. Now, let's get back to these 14 days and the grief. So we have, let's say it was a horrific accident and the person wasn't expected to go. Well, you're not going to get over them in 14 days. You don't get over anybody in 14 days, but it's that 14 days-ish that they're realizing, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. I see they've got lots of loved ones around them and they're going to be okay. And I always know I can come back down and visit with them, right? But if you have somebody who is unconsolable grief, you normally find this when a parent loses a child, and that's why a lot of children decide to stay. They don't want to leave their crying mom. They don't want to leave their father who's inconsolable. And they're just like, no, I can't leave. I want to stay with mom. I want to tell her I'm here. And that's why, or you get wives or husbands, like that love that is just, it's so painful to lose them that, it's difficult to let them rest in peace. And they can't rest in peace when you're grieving that hard. So, of course, I'm pretty sure Queen Elizabeth is still around. Of course, I said Diana. Get that a lot with Michael Jackson. Like anybody who is like huge on the stage, and they just they the grief is just holding them here. The power of the emotions, because remember, emotions is how you get your law of attraction. So you have this emotion of grief, and so what are you doing? You're attracting that person to the earth. You're keeping them here and not allowing them to get back to the sun so they can prepare for their next incarnation or wherever they're off to. So that's where that rest in peace. So you let them go in peace, and also you are resting in peace, right? You are letting go of the grief so that you are resting in peace as well. Finally being able to sleep through the night. And I just want to do a little sidebar here. Why do police bang on your door at 3 in the morning to tell you a loved one died? You know what? They're still going to be dead at 8. Let that person sleep. It's probably going to be the last good sleep they'll have for a very long time. Anyways, rant over. Um, so that rest in peace is almost a law of attraction mantra. It's to let them go, and also to let you start to rest from the grief and rest in peace as well. So remember that when you lose somebody, that that in some point you have to let them go for real, so they don't become an earthbound spirit. Now is So let's talk about earthbound spirits some more. So let's say the grief, like you think nobody really grieves for Queen Victoria anymore, right? Yeah, she was a lady. We get a long weekend out of it, whatever. Now, and plus, after a couple of generations, does anybody really remember you? So you're allowed to go. You zip back up across the sky into the sun. All right. What about those ones that never leave? These ghosts that are 100 years old, 200 years old. It's just because they've decided that they just don't want to leave. They can at any time. So, you might want to ask yourself, well, how can you help them get back? And this is especially for children. When I did that ghost hunting at Banff Springs Hotel, I came across 3 children, and it turns out they were all murdered there by their father. Um, Now, that was well over 100 years ago. So why are they still there? And it's just because they feel safe there. They are enjoying what they're doing. There's no end to it. Nobody's telling them to stop. So let's say you have a family member and you think they're earthbound, or maybe you're listening to this and you realize the family has grieved so hard for this person. Maybe it's time we let them go. So what do? You just tell them, you can go now. We're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You don't have to do any kind of exorcism, or, I mean, you can light some candles and, put some soft music on and just talk to them and say, I feel you're an earthbound spirit, or I don't feel like you're resting, or, you come to my dreams a lot. And I just want to let you know I'm ready to let you go. And I just want you to complete your cycle and return to God, return to the oversoul, return to the universe, or whatever, so you can complete um, what you're here to do. I understand you've had really a good time here, or I understand that you really enjoy being here and being with me, but one day soon I will join you over there. You're safe to go. So you just tell them. You don't have to do anything special. You don't need any kind of special spell or anything. And this is, and this could even be, especially for parents who have lost children. I think this is most difficult for them because there is some comfort of knowing that they're near to you, or you can feel them, or they're there. But at the same time, you're stopping their natural cycle, and also you're not allowing yourself to rest. You're not allowing to rest in peace either. And at the end of the day, you will see them soon. Remember, time is just an earth thing. It's not up there. To them, being over there could be a split second before you're there, right? Also, if I've known two families now where a parent has followed them quite quickly at their own hand, and you're kind of frustrating the system then, because now you've become an earthbound person and you are not going to see them until the contracts dictate that you see them, unless of course that was your contract to experience that. But for most part, it's not a contract that a lot of people want to do, because it is kind of dangerous and difficult. Um, but But just a little sidebar on that note, because I know I've read cards for hundreds of people, so I have a really good feeling of what's out there, and the sadness and grief and whatnot that goes on, and the parents who have attempted to join their child, they cannot fathom living without their child, so they've attempted to join them. If you've made attempts and they never work, you're saved somehow or something happens, I'm going to tell you right now, that's not in your contract. Okay? So you might as well just ride it out. Because either way, you're stuck here anyways. So just ride it out. All right? So you can just tell them. So a lot of these Ghostbusters who are like a haunted house or something, all you have to do is tell them to go, just to ask them. You don't have to do anything weird and wonderful. You just tell them you can go. There's nothing here for you. You're fine. You're okay. And a lot of them will just leave. It's almost like they're waiting for permission. It's kind of a weird thing. So yeah, that's how you get rid of earthbound spirits. If you feel your home is haunted, or a grandparent is hanging around, you can just tell them you can go. You can come back and visit me anytime you want, but there's no need for you to stay here. Now, I'm going to talk about entities that are not from the sun. So, you have your Archons. You have, well, let's just call them evil, non-human. Because like I said, there isn't it's not like the only way in is through the sun, because if that was the case, this would be heaven on earth, because God would only want beautiful things down here. There's nothing evil about the oversoul or God or anything like that at all. So if that was the only way to get down here, if this was just like, think of it as a big straw and people are coming back and forth, it would be beautiful. It would be heaven on earth. But it isn't. There's no such thing as this. So other entities can definitely come and cling to earth. But the only thing is they don't have a silver cord. So what they do is they cling to you or a person. They cling to a person. So yes, people can, it's not possession as much as, think of it as a parasite on you. And they come in and then they become a big Klingon. Now, what happens when this person, their silver cord breaks and they go back to the sun? Well, then they float around until the next person comes along, because they don't have any other way to remain earthbound other than clinging to something, um, something physical. and then they become like a parasite. And it really, another way to put this is, have you ever seen those parasites that get into a wasp brain and then turn the wasp into this crazy machine of, doing bad things and whatnot, and killing other wasps, and then that's so the parasite can keep jumping from wasp to wasp. All right. You can get rid of the Archon or the entity before you die. Of course you can. How do you do that? You just be a good person. What's a good person? You don't hurt anybody else. You don't involve yourself in the predator and prey. You don't, you look at the 7 deadly sins and stay away from those things. Gluttony, right? You stay away from those. You look at some of the entities and they'll drive you to, be crazy for money. Some people are saying parasites will drag you towards eating a lot of sugar. They need the sugar to live. So they tell your brain and your tongue you need sugar, that kind of thing. And I think that's actually been proven medically. Think of a tapeworm. A tapeworm is never satisfied. You just have to keep eating and eating and eating. I think cancer are entities. And I think they start with getting some kind of parasite, and then that entity is allowed. Because why would anything other than a parasite kill the host? It just doesn't make natural sense to kill the host, because then you die, unless you can hop to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So these are not earthbound spirits at all. They're not. You have to be a soul to be an earthbound spirit. These are entities. They're archons. They're evil. They're non-human. They're parasites, and they'll be here forever. They've been here forever, and they'll be here forever. There's no getting away from them. The only thing you have to do is look at the 7 deadly sins. Like I said, you don't have to be Christian to understand that the Bible has some amazing lessons in for us. So the 7 deadly sins, just look at those and make sure you don't do any of those, because look at why they're called the deadly sins. And just make sure you don't do any of those. Don't be a glutton. Don't have pride. Interesting, there's one group here and it's all about their pride. And look at what evil that has. I'm not saying people who are homosexuals are evil. I'm saying it's the whole movement, the pride. And I know I actually have 2 really good friends, 2 gay men, and they do not like anything about the alphabet community. And even River doesn't like the alphabet community, and because it's pride, right? So just don't do the 7 deadly sins. And now I don't have any proof of this, but I think the 7 deadly sins attracts these parasites because they need something to cling on to earth. And they jump from thing to thing to thing. So, do these parasites make us eat junk food that then, give us cancer? Do they make us smoke so then we have lung cancer, so then they can grow from that? But it just doesn't make sense that anything would kill the host without being able to jump to something else. And why has this proliferated? Well, I think other things are, I think the Archons are multiplying. I think a lot of, I just think a lot of things are multiplying because we're allowing them. What does parasites do? It's like a bacteria. It'll just multiply and multiply until you stop it. So until we can stop these 7 deadly sins, we are stuck with these. But I just wanted to put that out there that so you know the difference between an earthbound spirit. An earthbound spirit is a soul, and an entity or something evil or non-human or archons, they live here and they attach to a human. They can attach to your cat, they can attach to your dog, although normally they don't. That's a real, if you really abuse and abuse and abuse an animal, they can become open to one of these entities. And then that's where you get like, um, the dog attacked or some such thing. Um, you know, so just be careful with that. But for the most part, no, not really. And that's why they attach to humans. They prefer attaching to humans because they can control humans better. Um, what else was I going to tell you about Earthbound? About Earthbound spirits. I guess one way to become, to make sure that you don't become an earthbound spirit and forget your way back home, or is just to be knowledgeable about some of this and realize when you die, you've got the 3 days to get your orientation and realize you aren't physical and realize what's happened. And then you've got your 14 days to say your goodbyes, basically, for the most part. Review your life, review what's going on, and hopefully, some of the grief has lessened by then so you can continue on. So just even knowing that. So when you do get to the other side, you go, oh, I'm dead. Okay, well, you know, I know they're really grieving for me and their energy is keeping me here, but I know I have to go towards the light. So just knowing that, if you reiterate that a lot to yourself, I think that will help. But I don't know. I can't remember. If you are here, that means that at some point you broke through the earthbound and you reincarnated and you came back down. All right. There were some other questions about the soul families, and I'm trying to think, what were they? Oh yeah, the clock agrees with me. Yes, there were. Oh, I know, adopted. I had a couple of people, they were adopted. Well, that just meant that was something you wanted to experience in this lifetime. So your birth mother, and then you went to your adopted family. So you just wanted to experience that. That doesn't mean you are in a different soul family. Remember, the soul families are different grades. And so, your soul family might be here. Maybe you wanted to experience this soul family at the same level. So you set up your contract to be adopted. All right. So that's about with adopted, or orphan or anything like that. It's something you wanted to experience. It's something you wanted to experience for whatever, for some type of growth. Maybe you gave up a child for adoption in your previous life, and so this life you wanted to feel the other side to balance it out. Could be something like that as well. All right. What else? I think that's about it. I think that's earthbound spirits. And oh, that's what I was going to tell you. So with earthbound spirits, all right, that's who you're talking to when you are channeling. That's why it's really difficult. Like when somebody says, "Oh, can you see if my Uncle John is still here?" No, I can't, because are they earthbound? If they aren't earthbound, I can't. If they're on the other side of the sun, over here in heaven, then I can't. I can't contact them through here. Can only contact them if they come to the edge here. This is the veil, where I say the veil's the thinnest. Like I say, on their birthday or their heaven day, and you can talk to them. You can have a conversation with them. Oh, angels. Angels. We talked about the demons, so let's talk about the angels. Yes, the angels live on this side of the sun. But here's the thing with angels, they live on this side. They don't have a silver cord tying them to earth, so they can go back and forth. They can go back and forth with ease, through the sun, back and forth, get their orders from the oversoul or God, but they live in here. They live in here, and they also will help. And the reason they live here, I didn't draw that very good. So here's Earth, here's the sun. They live in this area here. Very rarely they come and touch down to earth because, again, they don't have a silver cord attaching them to earth. They can go back and forth from heaven here. But that's why they're called fallen angels, because they fall through the sun. They fall through. And so they're in here to help us. They also, your cord breaks, and then this is where you are before you go through, and they come and help you. These are your guides that help you through here. When people talk about their higher self, this is what they're talking about, this area here. And that is why I teach. So you have your crown chakra here, and then about a foot above your head, you have your post office to the universe. All right. So you have your other chakras here, your root chakras down, all right. So here's your crown chakra, and there's your silver cord runs up to your post office to the universe. And this post office to the universe talks to here. And then these guys take it to here and say, well, what do you think? Right? Because God has no control what goes on earth. He's on this side. The oversoul's on this side. All right? So your angels or whoever your higher self, your God, when you go to your post office, this is who you're talking to. When you do your law of attraction, this is who you're talking to. You're not talking to God or the universe, but they take your message forward for you. And then they return to your post office and tell you what the message is. If it's in your favor, it'll happen. If it's not, then nothing happens. I'm going to do a whole thing on law of attraction and why some of the praying and praying and praying, well, it goes to here. It doesn't go up to, I know some people are going to be really angry at me, but it doesn't. It just simply doesn't. These are the messengers in here, the angels, and pray to angels. Don't necessarily pray to God, because the angels are the ones who carry the message. So if you direct your message to one of the angels or your higher self or somebody who is living in this realm, they'll carry it through for you. But when you try and bypass them, very, very rarely will God get it, because it has to go through this portal here, the sun. And if you don't know how to do it, chances are. So this is, I think, where a lot of people, pray to Jesus. I would pray to angels before I just because that's how I've learned. I don't mean to offend anybody. Be so careful with this. Let's see. What else can I tell you about living here on Earth and earthbound spirits, angels, your higher self? That all lives up here. And then they're messengers. Okay, I think that's about it for Earthbound. If I think of anything else, I'll put it in the next one. Next one, I'm going to talk about the law of attraction and how you really use it. And it is just something that happens on Earth. I think what I'm going to teach you about that manifesting here on Earth is probably a little bit different than what you learned in The Secret. All right, so thank you very much. YouTube is now going to show you a video you possibly haven't seen. Why don't you click on that, and I'll see you over there. Take good care. Bye for now.